You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
This is Hardware is Forever. I'm Chris Bintliff, and Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech, and we're back for a conversation continuing this series on lean processes and lean manufacturing. And last time, Jay, we were talking about kind of the first principle, if we want to think of them chronologically, which is identifying value from the customer's perspective. So in this one, we're talking about mapping the value stream. Start there. What is that? What's a value stream? What's the necessity of mapping it?
Yeah, so I think customers want value. The stream that it takes to create that value that the customer essentially can ship, whether it's an experience, whether it's software, whether it's hardware, whatever it is, that process of making something valuable for the customer is what the value stream is. And I think, when it comes to processes, when it comes to manufacturing, physical process, soft processes, when it comes to art, we have to all see, it can be anything really, is what the customer really wants. And then what the customer does not want or does not need, we remove all those things and just make sure that the customer gets what they get. Even when we go to a restaurant to sit, we don't want all the silverware. We don't need all the silverware and all the types of silverware, but we just need the silverware that's appropriate for the meal that we have at hand. So I think that's where really mapping the value stream comes into play is, identify all the steps and process involved in taking a product from raw materials to the customer and eliminate wasteful steps.
So is it largely supply chain? How much of it is mechanical versus conceptual?
I think physically it's easier to track that because you can say, okay, I'm going to build this product. I need to make this widget. It comes to shipping and receiving, and I'm going to follow this widget through. Now, sometimes the way the factories are set up, there's work centers, there's things that, sometimes a product doesn't flow properly. So you're paying somebody to carry a product from one side of the factory to the other side of the factory, back to the other side of the factory, to the other side of the factory. Customers don't pay for that. Customers don't want to pay. They don't pay you to travel that much. They pay you to make their product or create value for them. So that walking around is not valuable. So I think that's where we talk about value stream mapping is where do we take the actions and the time and the resources to remove it so then we can just focus on what the customer wants. We can talk about even fast food, Subway, Chipotle, rather than having a waiter come up to you and ask you what you want and then take it back to the kitchen and bring it back out. Fast food is you go to the counter, tell them what you want, wait for your food and go out. Now that's a big elimination of waste because at that time in the lunch rush or at a different time, you don't want to be served. So now how do they add that value? They change the way that value stream is. And rather than having a waiter, you just go up to, now it's a kiosk and put your order in and then you get your food.
It's an interesting analogy because that particular sort of industry, fast food, measures moments. Like they measure how many seconds and they have a dollar figure attached to that. They are looking to optimize small increments because for them it scales to large impact. But in most small, medium organizations, we don't necessarily think of ourselves granularly. How do we start to identify steps and processes? Like it feels easier to say, I think we could save time if we just, maybe not, but I think we could save time. Like that's the thing. If we do a lot of sort of speculation or guessing or taking a shot at or whatever. Is there a more substantial way that we can actually sort of be intelligent about the steps and processes involved? From your perspective, what's involved in that?
Yeah, I think it's taking, what we do, so for example, going back to the factory, we go from side to side, corner to corner, doing different processes. If we look at our work order or a process flow or work instructions, there's a step by step. This is step one, this is step two, step three. And I think that's where the value stream mapping really comes is, okay, on paper, what do you have? And then what is actually happening? Measure every single moment, every single motion, every single piece of communication, and every single activity, and really see what's happening there. Like, I know my work instruction says it's a 10-step process. I got to do all these things and I'll be able to ship the product the way customer wants. But in between those steps to facilitate them, what are you doing? And I think that's when reality hits you hard is, okay, here's my work instruction, here's my process flow. Let's go actually witness it outside, and then we can identify what we're doing. Like, do we really need to, like, these two work centers are on two different corners, but 95% of the time, they're always sequential in every single process that we have. Like, why aren't they next to each other? It's like, yeah, you're right. They should be next to each other. Okay, so let's swap that out and put it next to each other. And then all of a sudden, for doing just moving things around, you increase efficiency, reduce waste. You've freed up resources to be able to focus on other things that customers need.
Where do we make room for, every once in a while I'll see something about how the value of something came when we realized we had to do the thing that doesn't scale. We had to do the handwritten thank you note, the thing we can't quickly do, the thing that we can't automate or process. Where do we, and that's appropriate sometimes and sometimes it isn't, where do we create room or space for delight or the surprising or the thing that doesn't scale? And how do we do that? How do we take that risk? Like, maybe that's the wrong move and it is a great big waste of time, or maybe it's the thing that will build your brand. Like, how do we start to think about that stuff?
Yeah, so I think whoever authored this or translated or created it, they selected an appropriate word. And the word and the crux of this whole thing that is lean, and maybe all organization, all businesses that we do, is value. It's not efficiency, it's value. So if it is valuable to write handwritten cards to your customers, that is valuable. So do that all day. And if it takes a lot of resources to scale, then scale all day, because that is what the customer wants. That is what they value. It may be hard, but yeah, it's hard. But that's what they value. They don't value, pre-printed cards. They don't value maybe printed signatures as much as a handwritten note. So I think that's where we really have to take a look at what is efficiency and what is value. And if the value is at the center of it, if it's hard, then you got to do it.
That's a very clarifying, sort of crystallizing point of view that helps me to rethink this a little bit, because it's very easy with the word lean to think we're going to minimize, and not we're going to minimize until we get to this point. And at that point, we're going to maximize. Like, that requires a little bit of nuanced thinking, and I think that's a valuable point of view and perspective to have. How does partnerships work with this? How do you optimize, or how does your value stream get affected by the suppliers or the vendors or whoever? Because if they're operating with great inefficiency, what do you do? Like, how do you figure out how their systems can bolt onto yours and you can still be following your value stream?
I think, this is not a question that is unique to us or to anybody. And I think the question is, I just heard this, like, everything is hard. You got to pick your hard. And I think, a lot of times what happened in the West was when the supplier or the partner did not add value, you fired them right away. And you found another one. And I think Toyota really came in and said, no, if you make a mistake or if you're not doing it, we'll come in and we'll do these, Kaizen activities, and we'll do these lean, analysis for you, and we'll help you become a better vendor. So what Toyota did, and which is being adopted more and more everywhere, is that I think they select for capability, and I don't know what they select for, but we would select for capability to make sure that they can do it. We would select for culture. We would select for the value they can provide, and then we would try to invest in those companies to become even better and implement those things. And how can we help them out? And I don't want to say that we're the only ones doing it. Our customers are amazing, and have we made mistakes? Yes. But all of our customers have always come in and say, Jay, let's work together to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And those are the ones who are long-term customers, and those are the ones who will be successful and they will get it. You cannot fire yourself to success. So like, you have to at some point invest in your partners. You want to have, obviously some prerequisites, like there's no leaks in the roof, like stuff like that. There's prerequisites you want to have, but as soon as you have those prerequisites, I think investing in them is very, very important.
I think that's really interesting that you can't fire your way to success. That's a good point of view. We're talking about Toyota and sort of their vanguard status and sort of figuring some of this out. There would be an argument for some that Toyota is not the most cutting edge. They do not make the vehicles that makes everybody's pulse quicken. Where does innovation live in this? Because it's really easy to get to a point of optimization, but how do you then start to take the risks or do the weird thing or turn left when everybody's sort of turning right and seeing how that goes? Where does risk fit in?
Yeah, I think, in Toyota, their ethos is they want to build a vehicle at the lowest cost that's going to last the longest. And
they're like, let somebody else make the hot rod. We're going to do this. Is that what
correct?
You're saying? Yeah.
Correct. I mean, if Toyota wanted to, they could have built an electric vehicle and be out there toe to toe with the Teslas of the world, but they have chosen not to. However, conversely, they're one of the first companies to ever introduce hybrids at a mass scale too. So, does Toyota kind of understands what their customers want or what their customers want? And Toyota does a really good job of making sure that they provide that to their customers. Like I joke, I agree. Toyota's always one generation behind. When the head units came out in vehicles that synced with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, they didn't have it for. They had to wait for the next generation to implement it. GM, Ford, a lot of other vehicle manufacturers and OEMs were one generation ahead of them. And Toyota is okay with that because that's what their customers want.
That's really a kind of an astute observation, because it's really easy for people to feel pressure to change the model, change the, who they want to attract, how they're going to keep up with or whatever. But part of what I'm hearing you say is figure out like, what's your speciality? What's the thing you do really well? And then don't be nervous about that. Just really dig into that and be authentic to that. And there will people who will get frustrated with that and they'll move on, and that's okay. They're not your core customer. You will just get better and better and better at serving your core customer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. So then you need to really know, again, identify the value, and then you map your value stream according to that value. Will Toyota invest their time and efforts in these different things? Maybe, maybe not. And when it's maybe not, they're okay with it because they always know who their customers are.
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. Good thoughts. Really interesting stuff. I love sort of figuring this stuff out with you. And I'm looking forward to our continuing conversations about lean manufacturing and the lean process. I will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. And a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.